Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is going to be a very unique video. Unlike the previous videos where I used to criticize J. Smith, in this video, believe it or not, I am going to be speaking in defense of J. Smith. I will focus my criticism today on this individual.
It's a huge theological problem here.
And I will show you and the Christian audience of J. Smith how he betrayed J. Smith.
It's saying they are the worst of the innocent, al-bari'ah.
There is a quote attributed to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu. It says, صديقك من صدقك لا من صدقك, which is translated as, your friend is the one who tells you the truth, not the one who agrees with you. Since Jay considers Al Fadi a friend of his, Al Fadi should always give Jay accurate information. I'm talking here about the controversy over Surah 98 verse 6 and the variance between the reading of Warsh and the reading of Hafs, innocent versus creation. And we all know that J. Smith doesn't speak or understand Arabic, so in order for him to criticize the Arabic of the Qur'an, he will need help from experts. And who is better to seek help from other than your best friend?
And in the second reading, it's saying they are the worst of the innocent, al-bari'ah, al-bari'ah. So it's indicating that humankind is innocent, but there are levels in there. Some are worse than others.
So that's a theological difference right there, isn't it?
It's a huge theological problem here, because you're assuming here or telling me that if I were to read it for the first time, if I'm somebody who doesn't know anything about the teaching of the Quran, I would say, well, that's interesting. The Quran is identifying humankind to be innocent.
Did you pay attention to what this deceptive individual said to his friend? The second reading, which is the Warsh reading, is saying the disbelievers are the worst of the innocent. And this is very ridiculous. The purpose of this video is not to show that Al Fadi is wrong, because this fact has already been established. First of all, there is not a single Quranic commentator or Arabic scholar that interpreted the reading in Warsh as the worst of innocent. Not a single one. Second, several Muslim brothers have already refuted Al Fadi on this stupid claim. Brother Shabir Ali, Brother Farid, and also Brother Abu Musa, Muslim allegation shredder. But maybe Muslim scholars and Muslim YouTubers are trying to hide this fact, right? So let's go to non-Muslim scholars, academic scholars, who have no advantage in proving Al Fadi wrong. This is a series of tweets by Dr. Van Booten. And this is a response that I got from Haytham Sidki. And if you're not satisfied with Muslim scholars and non-Muslim scholars, let's go to people who are supposed to be biased against Islam. Arab ex-Muslims. This is a video done by an ex-Muslim Arab refuting Jay.
It is the latter verb, ara'a, that the word bari'ah, creatures, creation, comes from. It is usually written bariya, but it can also be written bari'ah. In other words, there is no change in meaning at all. J. Smith has simply misunderstood the Arabic.
The purpose of this video is to expose Al Fadi as a deceptive individual and as a liar who lies even to his own friends. Let's get back to what he said. He said that in the Warsh reading, it says the worst of the innocent. After this confirmation from Al Fadi, J. Smith kept repeating this same garbage because he mistakenly put his trust on this deceptive individual.
In the fire of hell, abiding eternally therein, those are the worst of the innocent. Abiding eternally therein, those are the worst of the innocent.
And what happened after that? Dr. Shabir Ali put a video response to this stupid claim, and he completely destroyed it.
So if we say al-bariya, that we mean the creatures, so we mean many, like the creation as a whole, so the many in the creation, so the worst of the creation is it makes sense to say the worst of the creation. So similarly, if we say that bari'a means the creation, then the worst of the creation makes sense. But to say the worst of this innocent, and this is a singular verb now, singular noun now, so the worst of the innocent one, it doesn't make any sense, because there is no comparison if there's only one, and this is singular. So it's not going to make sense to say that this means innocent. Grammatically, it doesn't work.
Even after listening to this convincing response from Dr. Shabir Ali, J. Smith still had his faith on Al Fadi, because according to Jay's very poor knowledge on the history of the Arabic language, Al Fadi speaks the same dialect that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would have spoken.
I'm going to let Al Fadi answer that because he is a native Arab. He is a Saudi Arabian who speaks the same dialect as Muhammad would have spoken from the Hijaz.
So, as you have seen, Jay asked Al Fadi to respond to Shabir Ali. He was very certain that the information Al Fadi gave him earlier was accurate, and that Shabir Ali didn't understand what he was talking about. So let's go to the next live stream where Al Fadi was asked to respond to Shabir Ali. It's just a simple task, Mr. Al Fadi. You will come to the show and I'll ask you about Shabir Ali's opinion, and you would say, this reading definitely means innocent.
Go ahead, unpack this one for us.
Here Jay asked Al Fadi to start explaining this, but actually Al Fadi waffled for over a minute. I'm going to save you the trouble of listening to his very boring waffling.
So how does this read in Warsh? It says al-bari'ah, al-bari'ah. Now that's an interesting reading, by the way.
And the waffling continues. Rather than saying it definitely means innocent, it doesn't mean creation at all, he said, that's an interesting reading, by the way. Well, nobody asked you if it was an interesting reading or if it was not an interesting reading. Anyways, let's get going.
Jay, I know that Shabir Ali thinks that when you claim that this is saying those who are the worst of innocent, he had an issue with that, and he says that's really not what it means. It still means the same, that they are the worst of those who are created. But here's a problem with this.
So everyone now is expecting him to say what he said before. The reading in Warsh means innocent. It doesn't mean creation. End of story, right? Let's listen to what he has to say.
Because this word could be perceived as describing those who are innocent, and it also could be perceived as those from the word bara'a, those who were created.
Wait, so he's saying that it could mean innocent and it could also mean creation. Well, that's not what he said before. He didn't give two possibilities like he did here. Jay definitely didn't expect this from Al Fadi. He expected him to say, well, it means innocent and it doesn't mean creation. Shabir Ali was wrong. So that's the end of the discussion, right? Because if there are two possibilities, we will go with the one which fits the context. And the context is talking about disbelievers who are going to be the dwellers of the hellfire. So which one fits more? The worst of innocent, whatever that's supposed to mean, or the worst of creation? Of course the worst of creation fits the context. So what will Mr. Fadi say next? How will he justify this? Let's listen to what he has to say.
And also the same root word is used in a variety of ways in the Quran in itself to describe other means and other meanings as well. For instance, the word bara'ah in chapter 9, bara'atum min Allah, meaning that Allah basically is innocent now from what's going to happen to you, infidels, right? Why would Allah use it as innocent about himself, and you're not allowed to say that this is also describing the Christians and the Jews as innocent?
He went on waffling about other irrelevant verses like the word bara'ah, bara'atum min Allah. And then he asked the most meaningless question. Why will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describe himself as innocent, but you are not allowed to describe the Jews and Christians as innocent? Well, Mr. Al Fadi, it's not about whether you are allowed to say something or not. It's not about, you are using it for yourself, then we are going to use it for the Christians and the Jews. We're talking about a language here. It's the context that decides which meaning fits. And this is basics in all languages. All languages have words which have multiple meanings. How do we understand the meaning of the word? Using the context. Makes sense. The worst of the innocent doesn't make sense. It is as simple as that. Anyways, let's carry on.
In fact, early Quranic commentators did say that this also can mean innocence. So I'm confused, Jay.
Exactly, you are confused. So rather than talking to your friend and asking him to stop making this stupid argument, you are continuing to give him false information. There is not a single Quranic commentator that interpreted the word bari'ah in Surah 98 verse 6 as the worst of innocent. And if Mr. Al Fadi claims there are, then please go and ask him to provide evidence for his claim. And if he couldn't provide it, then ask him, why did you lie to us? Or are you happy when people are lying to you about Islam? Let's carry on.
This is typical of people who don't understand Arabic. Therefore, back to you. You understand Arabic. What is his error here?
So again, Jay doesn't seem to be satisfied with the answer Al Fadi gave. So he's putting more pressure on Al Fadi to give this answer. Let's see if Al Fadi is going to give this answer. So the question Jay asked here is, what is the error? Let's listen to the answer.
Well, the error here is he's taken one view only for the word al-bari'ah. In fact, I would argue if it is really talking about those who are created, it should have read al-mubra'un, those who were created.
So the question was, what is the error here? And the answer Al Fadi gave, the error is that he only took one view. And rather than explaining what he means, he went on to waffle about other meanings of those who are created. Let's carry on.
So I'm not really so sure why he's having an issue with you to say that this means innocent, when even early Quranic commentators did exactly the same thing you said, and they did state that it could mean the innocence.
Wallahi, you are a liar. I will repeat, there is not a single Quranic commentator who made that claim. Now let's see if Jay is satisfied with this answer.
Okay, so on the right side, looking at the Arabic, on the right side, innocent, the innocent, is there any other way, could you ever, looking at it as an Arab, could you say that this is creatures?
Could you ever say this is creature? So Jay ran out of patience and finally asked him a question to get a categorical answer. He asked, you as an Arab, could you ever say this is creature? And the answer Jay expected was, no, definitely no, it's completely wrong. But let's listen to the answer.
The first look, no. Immediately your mind will go. Modern day Arab. The first look, you'll go right away to the idea that there is innocence here.
The first look, no. Modern day Arabs. We're talking about a book that was written in the 7th century, and we interpreted based on the understanding of modern day Arabs, based on the first look. So it's clear, after Shabir Ali's refutation, Al Fadi was embarrassed. He knows that there were many Arab Christians who are watching him, who would lose their respect to him, because they knew very well that there was no way that this will be innocent. So Al Fadi tried to use ambiguous statements in order not to look stupid in front of his audience. He didn't care about Jay Smith looking stupid to thousands of people, but he only worried about himself. Let's carry on and see if Jay is going to give up.
So if that is the case, looking you as an Arab speaker, it would be obvious that these are two different words.
Well, it seems like Jay is still not satisfied. He's asking, to you as an Arab speaker, it will be obvious that these are two different words. But remember that Al Fadi said that al-bari'ah could mean innocent and could mean creatures. So he can't say now that, yeah, it's quite obvious that there are two different words. So let's see what he's going to say. What other ambiguous statements he will make in order to save himself embarrassment and continue to cause his friend embarrassment.
That's the point exactly, Jay. Looking at it immediately, just glancing at it, if an Arab speaker is honest enough with themselves, they will see that there is different ways of reading both words.
Well, again, talking about glancing at it. First look, modern day Arab, glancing at it. And also, he's saying that if an Arab reader was honest with himself, he will see that there is different ways of reading these words. Well, I don't recall that anyone denied that there are two different ways of reading these two words. Of course there are. Al-Bariyah and Al-Bari'ah. Two different ways of reading those two words. But Jay is not asking you about different ways of reading the words. He's asking you about different meanings. So it was not an honest mistake on Al Fadi's part. He deliberately misguided J. Smith. Now I will address Mr. J. Smith. If you want to believe that all Muslim scholars for the past 14 centuries were wrong about this, and if you want to believe that non-Muslim academic scholars are also wrong about this, but the only one who is right about this is your friend Al Fadi, then I don't know what to say to you. Because it is as clear as day that Al Fadi deceived you. That can be very easily noticed from the kind of ambiguous answers that he gave to your direct questions. I will end this video with a word of advice for J. Smith.
Your head is in the sand. Use a shovel. Get your head out. Use your brain. It works. Activate it. Go and do your research yourself. We're not going to do it for you. We're not going to hold your hand, okay? Doesn't work like this over here. You've been doing it probably for all of your life. Wake up from your deep sleep, my friend.
And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.